You got to be ready to throw a punch. You have to be ready to throw a punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
That I thought he should have punched him in the face.
I feel like punching him.
I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school.
Well, this is just a warning to you Trumpers. Be careful. Walk lightly. And for those of you who are soldiers, make them pay.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Take him out now.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Developing now, law enforcement and the campaign of former President Donald Trump are on high alert after a second apparent assassination attempt.
Another assassination attempt on former President Trump, and the left refuses to take culpability for the reason why it happened. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms for your NRA certification, multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfarmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you like channel-like content, what I do, you can support me with the link. Everything is appreciated. And once again, if your comment disappears, I'm not doing it. This is a growing problem on this platform. As with the new requirements for gun-related content is being scrutinized more heavily, which means comments are being removed without any notice. So if your comment disappears, I'm not doing it. If your comment disappears and I did it, I'll tell you. Let's talk about this. And as we know, I waited a little bit because I wanted more information. As you know, people like to be first. I like to be thorough. But there was another assassination attempt on the former president, but this time, according to the Secret Service, no shots were fired by the would-be assassin. What we have understood up to this point is that Trump went to an unplanned golf event, and for God knows how it happened, this person was camped out at a fence line that was at close, one of the holes that he eventually would come to, and from everything they told us, was set up to do this. He had a rifle, he had a red dot scope on it, he had a GoPro camera. I want to play this part here from CNN, who does a good job of pretty much encompassing what was happening.
It's stunning and very detailed. In fact, very, very revealing. Law enforcement officials saying a person has been detained in connection with this incident that occurred at the Trump International Golf Club around 1:30 p.m. Eastern earlier this afternoon. U.S. Secret Service agents fired gunshots at the suspect, who they believe was armed and intended to target former President Trump. An AK-style long-arm rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks, and a GoPro camera were recovered. The fact that there was a scope, Chief Ramsey, it says to me, it explains, I think in part, why the FBI has concluded this appears to have been a second assassination attempt against Trump.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, clearly, in my mind anyway, that's the appropriate classification for this particular incident. We're just fortunate. We're very lucky. We were lucky in July in Butler, Pennsylvania, and again today. We're very fortunate that the Secret Service agent was able to spot this and able to take immediate action and prevent a tragedy from occurring.
And that Secret Service agent spotted the barrel of a rifle sticking out from those trees near that golf course right there. And that's when shots were fired at the suspect, and eventually another individual saw what was going on and took some pictures of the vehicle that the suspect was using, the license plate, and eventually the suspect was captured in Martin County, just north of Palm Beach County, not very far away. Jonathan Wackrow, the fact that there was a GoPro camera that was right near that fence, near those backpacks that this suspect had over there, what does that say to you?
Well, listen, Wolf, I think that a lot of these elements speak to an elevated level of sophistication by this shooter, right? So the GoPro camera was the intent here to live stream this attack. by the fact that we saw those, we heard reporting that, and I believe we heard it during the press conference as well, that the backpacks contained ceramic plates. Again, this was, really setting up a firing position. The shooter probably intended to, engage directly, with Secret Service agents at one point. I think the Secret Service structure, though, the protective methodology, by putting out agents in advance of the protectee during their Gulf operations to really flush out this type of threat along the edges of the fairways really proved successful. This person obviously set up their location. They had a level of cover and concealment to launch this attack. They most likely had a line of sight from that fence line back into the fairway. That's disturbing. And more troubling is the accessibility, the ease of ingress and egress by this attacker. They had that escape route. The critical factor that we heard during the press conference is the witness. They saw the suspect running away, getting into the vehicle. And I think Andy McCabe said, very smartly, the person took out their phone, took a picture of the car, and then got the license plate.
Heard that and you saw that. Now, the initial story that came out when this first went down, that this was something of they said it was a shootout between that person and some other person. And I'm like, why would a person who's going to be in a shootout have a GoPro camera? If there's some beef, personal beef that flared up between two people, why would they have a GoPro all set up in on their head to record what they were shooting at? Nonsense. He was out there, from what, once again, this is what we're hearing, for 12 hours. He was set up, staged for 12 hours. And as the story developed, we now find out that the Secret Service went ahead to the next, go to the next few holes to survey what was going on. They spotted him at the tree line, fired on him. So they're claiming that these were the shots that were fired, and the person fled. A witness took a picture of him, the car, had full description of him. The word went out and he was picked up on the highway. And if you can see the image there, they shut down literally the entire side of the highway to get this guy. Now we find out this man's name is Ryan Wesley Ruth. Apparently he is 58 years old. And what is already happening is the left are trying to spin this. Now they're trying to say, just like they did with Crooks, because Crooks was a registered Republican, the left said, oh, see, he's a Republican, he's a Trump guy. But all he was a registered Republican. He would donate to leftist progressive causes, which I don't know any conservative who would do that. This guy voted for Trump in 2016, but after voting for him, went on a tirade against him, apparently had some issue with the, defending Ukraine, claiming that Ukraine-Russia war was a war between good and evil. Where have you heard that before? And also went as far as to try to recruit people to go to Ukraine to fight. And what they're speculating now is that he thinks that Trump is a threat to that war because he says, we're not going to just keep willy-nilly handing Ukraine billions of dollars, which I agree with. We should not be doing that. But this guy is a felon. Immediately, he can't have a gun. He's already, it just shows you this gun control doesn't work. He can't have a gun, okay? Because he was arrested several years before for having what they call a weapon of mass destruction. They didn't tell us what that was because when it comes to the media, having 5 guns and 1,000 rounds of ammo is an arsenal. So we don't know what that means, but apparently he was convicted of it. He was a felon, but he still had a firearm. Now, I said in the beginning that the left refuses to take culpability because Trump has come out against Harris and Walz and Biden, claiming that their rhetoric is the reason why this happened. And I have to agree to some degree with that statement. They are calling this man constantly, and then the media is fully on board with this. They constantly call this man a threat to democracy every day. Remember, after the first assassination attempt, it didn't take them. They came out after and said, we really need to tone it down. It took them less than 48 hours to go back to their old rhetoric.
What is that change going to look like, Don? What practically, your father as president, I think you would even say, was a divisive figure. What's it going to look like in the second term? I don't think he was a divisive figure at all. I think the media created divisiveness around him. They lied about Russia collusion. They said he was a traitor. They went after him in every which way as possible. If the media actually starts being an honest broker, talking about the things that he did, the prosperity he brought, the peace deals that he signed around the world, rather than the disaster that we're living right now, I think you'd do everyone in the country a big favor. I know immigration's important to him. I covered the family separation crisis closely. Will we continue to see policies like separating 5,000 children deliberately from their parents? You mean the Obama administration? You know they didn't do that, sir. Okay. Sure. Will there be a second family separation policy? It's MSDNC, so I expect nothing less from you clowns. Even today, even 48 hours later, you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait with your lies and with your nonsense. So just get out of here.
48 hours after being shot at, they're right back into the same, deceitful language that they use against him that they always have. And they don't care about Trump. Let's be clear. The left media does not care about Trump. This is news right now, and this is getting a rating, so that's why they're talking about it. But they don't care about the man. That's why they will not take a step back and say, let's tone it down. Hillary Clinton's getting roasted for what she said after this second attempt. I'm going to play this clip for you because now the media, in their attempt to deflect blame from themselves for the way that they speak and the way that they report as so-called journalists, they're now going to call for gun control.
But isn't...
Well, you're a pretty good messenger when you get shot and then nearly get shot again. I think that makes you a fairly credible messenger.
For what? Here's the conversation I think that Tim is trying to have, which is that this has been a political climate in the country writ large for almost a decade of heightened, political animosity. And a lot of people deserve blame for that, but Trump is not without, Trump's hands are not clean in this.
Are they? I'm just asking.
I mean, you're not saying it, are you? Because in my view, both candidates have actually said.
I guess I'm going to be the only one out here that's not going to blame Donald Trump for his two near assassinations.
No.
I mean, honestly,
it's not about.
He's the one being shot at. He's a target. He's not. He can't even walk outside of his own house.
We started the conversation by saying,
at his own peril.
We started the conversation by saying that this is not about assigning political blame. Trump is the one today assigning political blame. He is assigning political blame.
Do you think he's earned any right to assign or ascribe blame to the two attempts on his life?
Wait, so if you get shot at, you can say that somebody should shoot my opponents? That's the rule. If somebody shoots at you, you can be like, oh, somebody should shoot at them. Because if you look at Trump's tweet today, what he said today was that Harris was an enemy from within and that she will destroy the country if she gets elected. Now, personally, I do not feel comfortable having yet another conversation about the horrible gun violence in this country without talking about the guns. Because I agree with Tim. I want this political violence to stop. And to me, I would propose a solution to this. I call it the Protect Trump at all costs assault weapons ban. If we want to protect our political leaders, if we want to protect people who don't have an elite fighting force, protecting them 24/7. One of the best things we can do, not just for Trump, but for all potential victims of gun violence, is to ban assault weapons, to ban the AR-14, and to ban the weapons of terror that these crazy people use to menace not just our leaders, but everybody else in the country.
Guns don't have radical ideology, but human beings do.
Okay, so ideologies kill people, not guns.
And this guy setting up shop in the bushes outside of a golf course, it wasn't the gun that made him do it.
Yeah, something instability.
Something got to this guy.
These people, both of these people were mentally unstable, and nobody prevented them from buying a gun.
He believed Donald Trump needed to be eliminated, and he almost did it. Thank God for the Secret Service. Yes. How many more attempts are we going to? How many more are we going to have?
That's the
We're
point.
already at 2.
That's an important point. We've had guns for a long time, unfortunately. There's always been a lot of mentally unstable people in the country.
Yes.
So what is it that's going on right now? And
there
I think
are a lot more guns now.
It is an issue. There aren't that many more guns than there were
a
year ago.
Now, if you don't know who that guy is, Eli Mall, and I'm just going to tell you this because there's just no... I thought hard about how to frame this, but there's just no other way to do it. The man is a fucking lunatic. Okay, he's a progressive lunatic. Lunatic. Not just a progressive, not a liberal, he's a lunatic. He is a race baiter and a race hustler and a pure out racist. I'm going to call him out to his face if I have to. Everything for him, no matter what the subject, is about race and exploiting race. Let me give you an example.
It was written at a time when the people were racist. It was written. Now you ask, why are Republicans backing this man who's so clearly unintelligent, who so clearly doesn't have independent thoughts? But that's actually the reason. Walker's going to do what he's told. That's what Republicans want from their Negroes. What Josh Hawley is doing when he tries to do this is he's trying to get her killed. He is trying to get violence done against a Supreme Court nominee. I believe that the Constitution is a racist document. It was written at a time when the people were racist. It was written to support a white supremacist state. The Constitution is kind of trash. Now, let's just talk as adults for a second.
What did you say? It's what?
It's kind of trash.
Trash.
It was written by slavers and colonists and white people who were willing to make deals with slavers and colonists. They didn't ask anybody who looked like me what they thought about the Constitution. At a basic level, if you want rights in this country under this conservative Supreme Court, you better be a cis hetero white man or an Uzi. That's not my words. This is what those white guys said when they were debating the Second Amendment. They said that they needed a Second Amendment because they needed the armed, disciplined, that was their word, militia to put down slave revolts. I make a hard distinction between black conservatives, of which there are many, one of whom just was elected mayor of New York City, in fact, and these tokens who are out here right now shucking and jiving for their white handlers. These white people in these states are talking about leaving. They're talking about leaving and taking their black people with them. Just like before, and I know that's going to hurt Ron DeSantis' fifis that I'm making this analogy or comparison between what they're doing now and what their ancestors did when they owned people, but it's the same thought process. That's what Schrader is. He has made a series of decisions. Each one perhaps may be individually defensible, but in totality lead to the impression of a biased, racist judge with his Trump rally cell phone that is trying to get Rittenhouse a walk.
That's who he is. But here's the problem with his tirade into guns. He said that we should have the Donald Trump assault weapons ban. Well, here's the problem there, Eli. One, the rifle that he used was an SKS. An SKS would not fall under the definition of an assault weapon, which leads to the bigger conversation that they're just trying to ban guns in general, because if they were to pass an assault weapons ban, I think it would expand to anything that takes a magazine that's semi-automatic. That's just my opinion, but that's what I believe. But the firearm that he used was an SKS. An SKS would not fall under the assault weapons ban. Two, he is a felon. Right off the jump, he shouldn't have had that gun in the first place. So that's a problem. And three, an assault weapons ban would not have prevented what happened here. This guy could have done better with a BAR with a nice 3-9x40 scope on it. Just your basic 30-06 BAR instead of a... Now, they didn't tell us what SKS he had, but caliber-wise, I'm speaking. But there's so much out there that if that was his intentions, he could have done better with than an SKS. But let's not give people any ideas. But I will go down the rabbit hole and say that the left and the rhetoric against Trump is definitely inciting people to do this. And this Chief Snyder out there in Florida, he is saying what nobody else is talking about.
What questions, this is a federal investigation now, your job was to pick this guy up, pick up a suspect and turn him over to the FBI so they can take on the investigation. Now, what are your questions, Sheriff, about all of this as this investigation now continues?
I think the first question, obviously, that they'll want is this a conspiracy? Did this guy act alone? Is he a lone wolf? Possible. Or was he sent by some group to get the president of the United States? I mean, I understand it was a rifle. It was optics on the rifle. That's pretty serious. That wasn't somebody who just woke up and thought, well, let me see what I'm doing. We understand he's not from the area. So are we tracking with a conspiracy? That's the question that I think has to be answered, because if it is a conspiracy, there are other people out there that we have to get to.
Exactly. This was an unplanned golf event. How did this guy know? Now, granted, he was out there for 12 hours. Nobody, we don't know if he was out there for 12 hours day after day. We just know he was out there for 12 hours on that day. How did he know? If he just happened to come that day and Trump was there? That is just the question. What inspired him to just wake up and go, I'm just going to go out and take a shot at this guy? These are the questions that need to be asked, because there just seems to be a whole lot more going on that's being kind of swept under the rug and we're not talking about. But the man needs better protection. I'm beginning to suspect maybe the Secret Service is not good enough. He may need to hire privately out of his own pocket, because I said this was going to happen before Pennsylvania. I said this is going to happen years ago. Now it's happened not once, but we've had 2 attempts on the man's life, and this was an attempt on his life. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below, and as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I'm gonna see you on the next one. Peace.